So transport of gases. So we know that already air is a mixture of gases which contain oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and other gases. So that fills the lungs, that the alveoli. We know that alveoli are the structural and functional units of the lungs where the gases exchange. And it is important here, hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a pigment which carry the oxygen molecule to the towards the cell and combine with oxygen. Then it carry the carbon dioxide so that it should be combined with both oxygen and carbon dioxide. If it is bind with oxygen, that is oxyhemoglobin. If it is bound with carbon dioxide, carboxyhemoglobin. So the deoxygenated blood contain carbon dioxide. So oxygenated blood is contain oxygen. So when oxygen present in the air within normal limits, we know that in atmospheric nitrogen 21%. So it will be bind with hemoglobin which present in the red blood cells. We know that why the red blood cells are red in color, because of red color pigment is hemoglobin. So hemoglobin is also a colored pigment like chlorophyll. The only major difference being that has. So here it is important here. So we can see the two types of pigments. Now let us discuss here. So chlorophyll is a pigment which is present in the chloroplast which contain the magnesium element. Similarly, hemoglobin is a pigment which is present in the RBC which consists iron molecules. So most important in examination level. So you have to keep in your mind both pigments. Don't be confused. Hemoglobin is a pigment which is present in RBC and which contain iron molecules. Chlorophyll is a pigment which present in the chloroplast in plants which consist of magnesium. But here general knowledge question also it is important. Hemoglobin consists given below element, that is answer is iron, Fe plus. Chlorophyll pigment consists given below element, that is magnesium, Mg. So 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 So, as oxygen is diffused in the blood, it rapidly combines with hemoglobin. It forms oxyhemoglobin. This sentence is very, very important. Oxyhemoglobin, when we should call. So, oxyhemoglobin, when it is bind with the oxygen. So, another important one, when oxyhemoglobin is carrying the oxygen, when it reaches the cell, when it reaches the cell, the oxyhemoglobin leaves the oxygen and combined with the carbon dioxide. Combined with the carbon dioxide. Now this hemoglobin combines with after leaving oxygen into the cell, combines with the carbon dioxide and carry to the by the blood to the lungs to outside. So now when it is hemoglobin binds with the carbon dioxide, it is called carboxyhemoglobin. Carboxyhemoglobin. That is you have to keep in your mind. Oxyhemoglobin, carboxyhemoglobin, carboxyhemoglobin. So carbon dioxide is usually transported as a bicarbonate, while some amount of combines with hemoglobin and test is dissolved in the plasma. So here carbon dioxide is always transported by the hemoglobin as a bicarbonates, that is CO3 minus plus. So like that ion forms. So carbon dioxide always transported by the hemoglobin in the form of ions, that is bicarbonates. So, so here the chemical equations given, it is important in examination level. Sometimes like this they may give. Here Hb means hemoglobin. How many oxygen molecules are, so hemoglobin, Hb means here hemoglobin binds with the four oxygen molecules and form oxyhemoglobin, where in lungs. So oxyhemoglobin, HbO2 4. This is called oxyhemoglobin. Whereas this oxyhemoglobin, HbO2 4, in the tissues, it leaves the oxygen. It leaves the oxygen and separate the hemoglobin. So this is the chemical equation of the where the oxygen is carried by the hemoglobin and lived in the tissues. So that you have to keep in our mind. And another I would like to say that carbon it's bicarbonates I said. So when it leaves the tissues, the Hb, the Hb combined with carbon dioxide. Here carbon dioxide usually in the form of bicarbonate means H3 HCO3 minus, HCO3 minus. So bicarbonates, already we discussed hemoglobin bind with carbon dioxide as a bicarbonate. Bicarbonate chemical formula is HCO3 minus, HCO3 minus. So this form is important. Why? Because hemoglobin binds with the bicarbonate, that is it is the form of carbon dioxide, and it carried to the lungs, from lungs to expelled outside. This is you have to keep in mind. Another important one here, do you know here the given, so it is important in examination level to choose the correct answers. Sometimes they may give. Here see that one of the person is climbing a mountain by keeping oxygen cylinder. Why? What is the need? Let us go to that. So in higher altitudes, oxygen for oxygen will be decreases. Every let us see that if hemoglobin is equal to air, so sea level, when you take at a height of 13 kilometers, so that is about 8 miles above sea level, the concentration of oxygen is much lower, about one fifth at sea level. So 1 by fifth will be decreases. So ఫిఫ్త్ లో మనకి 1% ఆక్సిజన్ అనేది తగ్గుతూ ఉంది సీ లెవెల్ నుంచి. సో కాబట్టి ఎవరీ 13 kilometers లో, so that is the reason mountain climbers, they may keep the oxygen cylinder to get sufficient oxygen. So once again here, how much lower the oxygen at 13 kilometers means 1 by fifth. That is you have to keep in our mind. And here under these conditions only about half as many oxygen combined with hemoglobin. So that already I said here, we know that without oxygen our life is dangerous condition and we would not survive. We would not survive without. In the same way, deep, those who are swimmers and went to the deep, goes to the deep, they are also carry the oxygen cylinders. Now it is important gases exchange capillaries to cells and cells to capillaries. So it is you have to keep in your mind capillaries to cells, cells to capillaries. First of all, let us know that capillaries. So now blood carrying oxyhemoglobin from the lungs to tissues, from the lungs to tissues. So cells these are. Now while carrying, here what's happening? For example, artery carry the oxygenated blood. Artery, when it is reached to the cells, they have to enter into the cells. While entering, the arteries divide into minute and minute blood vessels. Those are called capillaries. Now, arteries opens into cells as a capillaries. Opens into capillaries. These capillaries leave the oxygen, which is carried by the hemoglobin. Now, from these capillaries, after leaving oxygen, they may take the carbon dioxide, uh, that is by the veins, by the vein. Vein also start with the capillary, small blood vessel. So veins start with the capillaries and carrying the carbon dioxide, which is present in the cell. So for this, we should conclude that artery carry the oxygenated blood, whereas veins carry the deoxygenated blood. So veins started with the capillaries, arteries end with the capillaries. Capillaries nothing but small, minute blood vessels. So they are help to the to leave the oxygen into the cell, and they collect the carbon dioxide from the cell. So carbon dioxide collected by the capillaries regarding to the veins, oxygen leaved by the capillaries regarding to the arteries. So that is here what's happening. Oxygen is leaving by the capillary regarding artery, carbon dioxide receiving capillary regarding to vein. In this way, here what's happening, capillaries to cells, cells to capillaries, capillaries to cell oxygen, cell to capillaries carbon dioxide. So this is gases exchange takes place in the cellular level, hence it is called cellular respiration. So let us go to the here cellular respiration is given. Just now we seen inside the cell, the capillary regarding to artery leave the carbon oxygen, sorry, oxygen. The capillary which is regarding to the vein receives the carbon dioxide which is formed in the cell after digestion of food material, this carbon dioxide. Here what's happening inside the cell, gases are exchanging. Gases are exchanging. Oxygen is leaving, carbon dioxide taking. So this is called gases exchanging. So as it is, gases exchange takes place in the cell, hence it is called cellular respiration. So because of oxygen is finally reaching the cell, and their oxygen is utilizing for the breakdown of the food material to produce energy. So as this process is entirely taking place inside the cell, hence this respiration is called cellular respiration. So here all living cells carry out cellular respiration. It can be in the presence of oxygen. In the presence of oxygen, that is called aerobic. Some of these cells do not need oxygen. Those in that also respiration is carried out anaerobic respiration. Aerobic, anaerobic. If the respiration takes place in the presence of oxygen, is called aerobic respiration. If the respiration takes place in the absence of oxygen, is called anaerobic respiration. So generally, all kind of organisms, living being, plants, animals, human being, aerobic respiration is carried out, but anaerobic respiration is mainly which is carrying out in mainly microbes, and also in human body in muscle cells. Sometimes if the oxygen is not reached towards the muscle cells, so in that cells, without oxygen, materials will be break down. That is called anaerobic respiration. So anaerobic respiration taking place absence of oxygen in muscle cells of human being when oxygen is not reached certain times, and also fungi, they carried out anaerobic respiration. During anaerobic respiration, what's happening? The product lactic acid is produced from the glucose during anaerobic respiration. When in human being and animals, due to lack of oxygen in certain places, food materials are break down, especially glucose. While breaking down the glucose, lactic acid is released. This lactic acid is excessive, it leads to body pains. Already was studied. So, in what happens? The main differences between anaerobic and aerobic. Let us go to the differences between. So, cellular respiration in prokaryotic cells like bacteria occurs within the cytoplasm. So cellular respiration in prokaryotes. Prokaryotes means like bacteria, blue-green algae. In these, so this is the cell and this is the nucleus. This is totally cytoplasm. So in prokaryotes, in cytoplasm, cell respiration is taking place. But whereas in eukaryotic, cytoplasm and mitochondria. So in eukaryotic cell, in both, you know that mitochondria are the sites for cellular respiration. So inside the cytoplasm is taking place cellular respiration, as well as inside the mitochondria take place the aerobic, that is cellular respiration. So in eukaryotic, in both places cellular respiration takes place, whereas in cytoplasm and mitochondria. So whereas in prokaryotes only cytoplasm cellular respiration takes place. So because of 99.9% cellular respiration in eukaryotic cells in the mitochondria. Hence, mitochondria called as a powerhouses of the cell, because during respiration, mitochondria produce energy. That energy is stored in the form of ATP. ATP means adenosine triphosphate. So whatever energy released after breakdown food material in the presence of oxygen in the mitochondria, which is stored as a ATP. This ATP is full form adenosine triphosphate. It is also called energy currency. Energy currency because of here it treat as a currency because it has energy. So because of cellular respiration taking place in eukaryotic mitochondria, so mitochondria are also called powerhouses of the cell. So the differences between aerobic, let us go to the, this is important examination level, mitochondria. So first discovered by Robert Benda and the name was given by Altman. Benda and Altman, both scientists, should played major role for giving information regarding to the mitochondria. So we know that mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cell because of they are the sites for respiration, and they carried out cellular respiration and produce energy. So the structure of mitochondria, it consists of two membranes, outer membrane and inner membrane. So you can see that inner membrane have the folds. Inner membrane have the folds. These folds are called cristae. Inside the inner membrane, there is a fluid is called matrix. There is a fluid is called matrix. In the matrix, there are DNA, some fat, protein, and lipid granules are present. So the main sites for cellular respiration are cristae. Why? Because cristae consist elementary particles. So here there will be a respiratory enzymes are present on the cristae, that is elementary particles. Because of cristae consisting elementary particles, where the enzyme ATPase enzyme is present, due to presence of that, what happens? Cellular respiration is carrying out. So the energy stored in the form of ATP, already I said. And when we utilize one ATP, how much calories energy we get? Total 72, 7,200 calories of energy we get. 7,200 calories of energy we get. Like that, total 38 ATPs are formed. 38 ATPs are formed. So you can calculate 38 into how much kilocalories energy we get. Let us calculate that. 38 ATPs are formed during cellular respiration. So 38 multiply with uh, 7,200. So totally 2,000, totally 2